Hi and welcome to another episode of Online Course Secrets TV. Today we're going to talk about how to develop your mindset for productivity. So let me know if you're watching, leave a like, just say something so I know you can hear me. And then we're gonna get straight into the episode. So I think everything's working. Feel free to say hi. It's always fun to interact with you guys. I'm keeping my eyes open here on the chat. So during the episode, if you want to ask some questions or something like that, just post it there and I'll know that I can pretty much try to answer it as well as I can. Perfect. So this episode today is for you if you find yourself procrastinating a lot, or if you are working and working, but you're not really seeing any results, so you're stuck in one way or another. Or if you're stuck with your negative thought patterns and you're drained of energy, you have no motivation, or if you're simply unclear on what to do, then this episode will help you as well. Okay, perfect. So I think everything's working. I think you can hear me. So welcome to the episode. All's good on this side, David. Perfect. Thank you. Hi, Magnus. Hi. Nice to see you here. Perfect. So let's talk about mindset. So much of what we do when we are trying to learn how to create and sell our courses is about trying to overcome the obstacles. Like, how do we gather our email list? How do we create our offers? How do we present them? All that stuff. And those things are really, really important. But we also have inner obstacles, right? And we don't always work on them so much. So perfect. Lina is saying, hello, David from Adelaide, South Australia, and procrastination. Perfect. Maria Paz is saying, hearing you loud and clear. Great. So Narkisha is saying hi. So great. We have some people here. Nice. Perfect. So this is how it's going to work. We're going to do this episode in about 25-30 minutes. You can ask your questions. I'm looking at the chat every now and then. And then at the end of the episode, I am going to share with you how I can help you with your newly developed mindset. So what we're going to cover in this episode are 3 things. It's actually 5, but I paired them together. The first one is something that I call the wheel of progress. Then we're going to talk about leverage and systems. And lastly, we're going to talk about reframing and modeling. So the reason we're going through these things is pretty much because it's basically what has stuck with me throughout the years after reading a lot of books on personal development, probably in the hundreds actually, and testing a lot of concepts and what works and what doesn't. In the end, I find that if you have these 5, you pretty much have everything you need. That's your mental toolkit to take on whatever challenge you may encounter. So perfect. Tinkuta is saying hello. Hi Tinkuta. Great. Wow, so many people watching. That's fun. Okay, so let's jump to the presentation. I have created some slides, not too many, but they look like this. So this is the wheel of progress. Now, what is this? Okay, so when we were talking about the mindset, right? I could have named this episode "How to Develop Your Mindset for Success," but that would be a bit misleading, right? So we're trying to accomplish productivity, right? So one of the major reasons that we get stuck is because we are looking too directly at success. We are too obsessed with the results of what we do compared with just trying to improve at what we do. Does that make sense? So one way of thinking is very result-oriented, where the value of what you do is what you get out of it. The other way of thinking is being totally immersive in what it is you're trying to accomplish, and then figuring out if you're doing the right thing or not. But the main value is if you're doing things correctly or not. Okay? Dom is saying hello. Great. So everyone's joining. Perfect. Okay, so this is kind of like the first reason that we get stuck so often is because we have an unhealthy relationship with failure. We think that failing is something inherently bad, something that we have to avoid at all costs. The problem is that for us to reach success or to be productive, pretty much 99% of that consists of failed attempts, right? So whenever we are operating at our limits, we are by definition doing things where we are failing, right? So failing is a crucial part of of moving forward. Okay? Don Brandon saying, concentrate on the process, not the goal. Exactly. It is important to have a goal, right? As you can see, in the beginning, we do set up a goal, and that is crucial, right? That we have something to aim towards. But then as soon as we have a goal, we place action at the very top to do something. That's what's important. Not to do it right or to do it wrong, right? But to just do something, okay? Lynn is saying, I cognitively know is the doing, means versus ends goals. I'm not quite sure what you mean there, Lynn. Let me keep going and maybe I can answer it later. So basically, a productive mindset. So we're thinking of our mindset as a tool to achieve our goals. And the way we really want to think about things is that we place action at the very top. Not being smart or looking smart or being successful or anything like that, but being decisive, but taking action, not staying in analysis, not trying to think our way to success, but to act our way to success. Okay, so whenever we take actions, we either reach our goals directly, which is quite rare, right? Or we fail, right? So by failing, I mean you get an opportunity to learn. So you're always winning, right? Because you're either reaching your success, in which case you can set up a new goal, or you are learning, you are doing something that didn't work, and you're learning from that, and you can adjust from that, right? So that's the next step. Okay, does that make sense? I hope it does. So a lot of people that are stuck procrastinating, they are stuck here, right? So they think that they have to do, that it's only worth doing something if you do it right. So there's this mindset that you should wait until you know how to do something, until you do it. And that's what's stopping you. So you want to turn this around. You just want to, your first goal is to just fail, right? If you are stuck, then it's much, much better to fail than to actually not do anything at all. If you're not doing anything at all, then you're not even trying. And that's infinitely worse than doing something that you even know is going to fail, right? Okay, indeed it makes sense, Magnus saying. Perfect. Okay, so the other place where people can get stuck, which is also a form of procrastination, is when we are just acting, but we're not learning from our actions, right? So we're just grinding, so we're just hustling, right? So we're spending all our time, energy, effort, all our valuable resources, but we're moving very slowly towards our goal, or even walking away from them, because we're not actually learning and adjusting of what we're doing, right? So this is equally important. If you're just acting, that is not going to take you to your goal. You know, it could. It's just a lottery, right? But if you are if you find yourself stuck just acting, doing, but you're never finding the right results, you're not reaching your goals, then it's probably because you're not sitting down with your failures and really picking them apart and figuring out what am I doing wrong? What can I adjust? How can this be improved, right? So we are still too obsessed about the end result rather than what am I doing? Am I doing the optimal thing? How can I improve this? What's the next step for me to make this a better process, right? Okay, launch imperfectly. Dom is saying perfect. Yes, exactly. So done is better than perfect. It's better to just do something than to actually nail it on the first try. So we see some kind of value in being able to do something on the first try, as if that was better than doing it on the third try. Even though doing it on the third try, you would reach your goal before doing it on the first try if you try to figure everything out, right? So the goal is to reach your goals as fast as possible, not to do it in as few tries as possible, right? So I really, really feel that this is the major reason why people get stuck. They are thinking way too much. They're stuck in their heads, and they are placing success above action, right? So they are outcome dependent rather than process oriented. Okay, so let's see what you're writing. Javier is saying, I think a lot of it comes from how you value yourself. If you're very insecure in what you offer, then you can get obsessed with failure. Lynn is saying, take massive imperfect action, not failure, it's feedback. Exactly, Lynn. Yeah. So Javier, yeah, definitely. And those two things are tied together, right? When we grew up, we were constantly getting, if we are constantly being encouraged because we are succeeding, or if we are like, oh, you got good grades or something like that, if that's where we get the encouragement, rather than getting the encouragement when we are studying, or when we are doing our best, or when we are figuring out better ways of getting those good grades, right? So usually we only get the encouragement when we get the good grades, and that makes us think that the value is in getting the good grades, but that's not where the value is. The value is in studying as well as you can, finding the best way to study for you, right? And to actually do it, to actually sit there and learn as much as possible, right? When it comes to studying. So we are, as a society, not only as individuals, really hung up on the outcome of things rather than how we do things. And this obviously leads to a lower self-esteem, right? Because we think that our value is dependent on what we produce, rather than our ability to take action on our goals, which is a much healthier way of living, actually, because it engages you. You get engaged with life, and you're not waiting and staying away from things that you think are not for you, etc., etc. It allows you to start learning the piano even if you've never played it before, right? Because it's all about taking action, right? Okay, so now we're only talking about a productive mindset. I'm not necessarily talking about a happy mindset, right? Those aren't necessarily the same thing. But yeah, here we're talking productivity. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, great. So I think I have said enough about what the wheel of progress. I think this is the main thing when it comes to getting things done, and that's to just try to fail early, try to fail fast, try to fail forward. So that means do something, just learn from it, adjust, and try to improve things. So just become really obsessed with trying to improve things. And you'll never reach a plateau either, because when you reach your goals, you're going to be invited to keep on going pretty much. Okay, let's keep going so we have time for everything here. So the next thing is we're going to talk about our leverage and system. So when it comes to your actions, like all the options you have, there's obviously one option that's the best, right? And the best option is the one that requires the least of you, but produces the most, right? So that is leverage, when you can find that single thing that sets everything else correctly, right? So this is what these are the kinds of actions we're looking for. We're looking for the kinds of actions where we put in a little but get out a lot, right? Because if we put in a little and get out a lot, then we can do a bunch of these small actions, right? And get a huge payoff, right? Does that make sense? I love this phrase, failing forward. I also like this one. You fail your way to success. Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's so important that we have this healthy relationship with failure. Now, of course, we're not. We want to fail while doing our very best, right? And by doing our very best, it means that we're looking to do the kinds of actions that produce the most results, right? So that's why let's say, so I took this example earlier this week, like let's say you have two different goals. One goal is to start your blog and the other one is to learn how to cook. Then a low leverage action would be to do your blog on a Monday and learn to cook on a Tuesday. A high level action would be to do a blog about how you're learning how to cook, right? Because you're doing one single thing and you're reaching both your goals. Now, again, as you can see in the wheel of progress, we're really trying to avoid thinking as much as possible. Thinking really is what stops our momentum, right? So we don't want to sit down and figure out what is the next step at all times. We want to follow systems, right? So whatever goal we have or whatever it is we're trying to accomplish, try to break it down into manageable steps, right? So that having systems makes everything possible. So systems are like recipes. So whatever problem, whatever goal you have here, you can break it down into smaller, manageable chunks. And then, like no one can run a mile, but everyone can take a step, right? So if you can take a step, then you can take another step, and you can take another step, and eventually you have walked a mile pretty much. So this is how you want to think about it. You want to be really, really present in the moment and just like, this is what I do now, this is what I do next, and then preferably have that planned in advance. So you are kind of following a structure, like a framework, a method, right? Does that make sense? Because this is having these systems in place, it will eliminate so much of the thinking for you, right? So you basically, you spend time thinking about the perfect systems, and then you put the systems in your wheel of progress. So you are improving your systems as much as possible, and you're trying to only fill your systems with high leverage action steps, right? So this is how you want to think at all times. You want to always be process oriented, think in terms of leverage, and try to follow or create systems for yourself. And this goes for your students as well. If you're teaching someone something, right? You want to, whatever problem they have, you want to give them the system in order to reach the goal, the success, right? Because this is how we actually overcome problems. We break them down into smaller chunks, and then we take one thing at a time. And when we have completed everything, then we have solved the big problem. So no problem is too big, because there's no problem you can't divide into smaller manageable chunks, right? Okay, let's see if you're as long as yonks, as long as makes sense, something like that. Dom is saying, okay, perfect. So the last thing I would really like to share with you here is this concept, reframing and modeling. So reframing, I can't overstate the importance of reframing. For me, at least, it has been the absolute key to everything in my life. It really, it's kind of like I had two lives, like one before I discovered reframing and one afterwards. Like this is the most central thing for me. And I think the day I really recognized this concept was when I was sitting at a cafe, and I could see how the waitress was getting yelled at by an older man, right? And it was so weird, because I looked at this from a distance, and I kind of understood that the reason that no one's interfering here, the reason that no one is intervening, like doing anything here, is because this person was her boss, right? So obviously she had done something wrong, or I don't know, something had happened, right? But they were having this argument, and I could kind of understand that if this had been a customer, right, then it would have looked very differently, or if it had been someone else. So at that point, I really understood that, wow, we're just really walking around with these stories in our heads, like she works here, and he's the owner here, and that gives him the right to talk to her like that. And you know, it was such a eye-opener to understand that, wow, we all have these stories, right? And they govern how we react to things, and how we act in our lives, what we think is normal and not, right? Does that make sense so far? Javier is asking, how do you keep track of the improvements in your system? Do you keep a notebook? Mahobia is asking what camera I use. I use a Logitech C920. I'll link it to you afterwards. So Javier, how do you keep track of the improvements in your system? Right, that's a great thing as well. You need to have some sort of feedback loop, right? So you have to know what constitutes success, right? So if you have let's say you have a system for writing, for instance, writing social media posts. How would you measure that success? It could be how much time you put into it. In which case you want to try different systems and measure how much time each system is taking you, right? Or maybe you want to measure it in terms of how much people are interacting with it, engaging with it, how much people are enjoying it. Well, then you want to use these two different systems and look at the different results that come out of these systems and measure the engagement, right? So yes, it's really important that you learn, right? So that's the first part of the the wheel of progress. You create your systems, you learn from what you're doing, regardless of if you're failing or winning or is succeeding or not. And then you're adjusting things, improving them constantly, right? Okay, so let's go back to reframing. So I kind of understood that, wow, depending on the story we have, depending on how we see things, depending on how we frame things, that's going to adjust our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions, right? So reframing basically means that we change how we see things in order to reach to interpret things in a more productive way. So whatever thing we are exposed to in our lives, whatever it is, right? It's a fact, right? So it's some sort of fact, but we are always interpreting it through our lenses, through our perspective, through our stories, through our frame, right? And this is our superpower because we are in control of how we interpret things. So that means that whenever something's happening, you are invited to frame it differently to reach to start acting in a different way. Okay, so let me give you an example then. So let's say you have a course and someone asks for a refund, right? That's a fact. Someone is asking for a refund. Now, depending on your prior experiences and your upbringing and your social environment and all sorts of stuff, and even what you ate that morning, maybe, you will maybe see that as something negative, right? So maybe you're seeing that as, oh, wow, I knew that I shouldn't have created an online course and I knew people wouldn't like it. And wow, this is the proof that people don't actually want my course and that I don't have value to give, etc., etc. So this frame, is this helpful or not? That's the only thing that matters. That we're not looking for objective truth, we're looking for effective truth. So what's a more productive way of seeing this refund as? So maybe if it's appropriate, you can ask the person, oh, I see that you wanted a refund. Can I just ask, what was it that didn't work for you? I would love to improve it for the other students, right? So in this case, you're not seeing the refund as a reason for you to bash yourself over the head, but rather you're seeing the refund as a reason to investigate further how you can improve your course. You're again entering the wheel of progress, right? Does that make sense? I hope it does, because it's so powerful. If you take charge of how you interpret things in your life, there's no stopping you, right? There's nothing that can stop you, because you will not see yourself as camera shy anymore. You can see yourself as a camera beginner, right? So whenever you are scared of doing something, instead of you seeing yourself, wow, I'm scared of doing this, you can just see it as, wow, I'm really excited to do this. It's so exciting. Can you see how close those two emotions are? To being scared of something or being excited by it, right? So just this little nudge can just do so much for how we perceive things and people around us and ourselves, most importantly, right? So reframing really is the superpower number one, I would say. If you can see kind of like, okay, with this way of thinking about this, I am doing this and I am feeling like this. So how can I change my perspective? What am I learning here from using this perspective? What am I learning? How can I adjust my perspective? What's happening then? What's happening if I change my perspective in this way, right? So perspective is everything, right? It governs everything. And so much of it is just on autopilot until we learn about reframing, that we can actively seek more productive frames of mind. Okay, I know that might be a bit technical. Maybe for you this is completely new and you're like, what is he talking about? And maybe for others it's like, yeah, that's exactly it. That's what I have experienced as well. Okay, let's see what you're saying. Lynn is saying that would be the parenting course. I'm procrastinating on creating. Okay. Shenalin, what recording platform are you using? Let's take all the technical questions afterwards. Let's stick to the topic. Dom is saying, I feel that way about my group. It's not really working yet, but I'm so excited about learning and adjusting and getting it right. That's perfect, Dom. So that is the right mindset, right? And, you know, you can stay with this frame, right? Like it's not really working yet. Or like it's not really working yet, right? The thing is that it's not really working yet. That frame of mind is because you have some sort of anticipation that doesn't match reality, right? So let's say you do match that anticipation. I promise you that your anticipation is gonna go up, right? And then your group is not gonna be working yet again, right? So it's never working yet if you keep this frame of mind. Now, maybe this is the exact frame of mind that you need to keep improving it, right? And in that case, let me not interfere, right? But another way of seeing it is that your group is working perfectly for the stage it is at, right? So there's nothing wrong. You're just learning. You're in the beginning stages, and this is the stages where maybe you're not getting the engagement that you're ultimately looking for, but you are doing fine, and you, as long as you're learning and everything, then everything is the way it's supposed to be. So only you know what frame of mind works best for you, right? So just my experience is that just notice the frame of mind you're in, and kind of what emotions that lead that come out of there, and so on. Okay. Lynn is saying, no excuses now. I haven't had a computer for months, and I picked up my new laptop yesterday. Awesome, Lynn. Yeah, just go for it. Yeah, perfect. Okay, let's do the final one before we wrap things up. So modeling. Everything we've mentioned so far has been like very introverted. Like this is what you do, how you act, how you learn, how you adjust. This is the kind of options you're looking for, and you want to do systems, and you want to do reframing, etc., etc., etc. But you're always working in isolation here. So modeling basically means that you stop looking inward so much and you start looking outwards. If you are stuck, find someone that has accomplished what you're trying to achieve and look at them, right? And now you can model them. You can be inspired by them. This is how we learn as kids, right? We don't figure out everything ourselves. We look at the people around us and we mimic them. We get inspired, and then we eventually craft our own personality and behavior out of all that, right? So what should you model? Well, you can basically talk with these people. How do you look at this? What's your opinion on this? And then you're getting their frame, right? So you can start to copy or be inspired by the way they see things. You can see what kind of actions they do, what kind of systems they are using, right? And how they are using the wheel of progress to achieve their goals. So modeling is crucial, right? Especially if you're stuck. Don't do this alone, right? But also don't only copy other people. There's a fine balance here. Personally, I just really find it much better to just stay inside myself. And then as soon as I feel that, no, this is not going as fast as it could, let's look outwards. How are people doing this? And then I kind of go back. So that's how I work, right? But we are different as people. Perfect. So, great. Okay, so that's the presentation. That's what I wanted to share with you about mindset. I really feel that having a great mindset is the foundation for everything else. So, but also there's a limit. Like you shouldn't waste too much time on this, I think, because action, after all, is the key. So these are the tools that I stick with. I just ignore the rest. I don't dive deeper than this. It's so easy to get stuck. So this is what I wanted to share with you. Okay, so if you want more help, if you want to gather your audience, build your community, create your course, and start making sales, learn all the marketing and all that stuff, the mindset alone is not going to help you, of course. There are a lot of outer obstacles. So for you, I can offer you a free 30-minute strategy call where we identify what you're struggling with and the next steps you need to take to reach your goals. And then if you want more guidance and we both feel that we're a good match, then we can talk about how I can help you further. So you can find the link in the description of this post above, or if you're watching this on my website, there's a button below. So that's what I can offer you. Do you have any final questions before we wrap this up? I think we have time for one more question. Let's hear. Katyusha saying very clear and useful. Great. Thank you. I'm so glad you liked it. Dom is saying thanks, David Vidales. Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna wrap things up. I'm gonna answer your questions afterwards in the chat. I'm also gonna get back to you about the course platform and the recording platform, and if you have any other questions. So that's it. Thank you so much. And a final reminder for you, if you are in my program, we're going live in 30 minutes in the student group. So be sure not to miss that. So thank you. See you. Good luck with everything, and I'll see you next time. Bye.